Morning, everybody. Welcome to the March 12th Bifold OpenWallet Foundation Bifold Users Group meeting. I'm Jason. I'll be your host for today. Okay, it looks a bit different. You probably noticed that right off the bat. We're migrating all the services away from Hyperledger into OpenWallet Foundation, and we'll get to that a bit later in the agenda. But for now, note that I don't believe there is a Confluence equivalent. So I'm just using HackMD. And yeah, we're going to figure this out as we go. I think I can share this. The note can view. I think that's good. Copy. Put this in the chat here. There's a link to it. Okay, moving on. I haven't found an alternative to the Zoom yet, but expect the next meeting to be at the same location, and then we'll have to find a way to communicate that to everybody, even if you don't join that call. So hopefully by next week, we have a non-Hyperledger Zoom link. Maybe an OpenWallet Foundation would be great. If not, I guess we'll just keep using this one for now. And yeah, we'll start communicating some of the changes to document location. As per usual, this is part of the Linux Foundation. So we're using their code of conduct and antitrust policy. I believe that's what it was. There's a link to it in the document I just sent if you want to check it out. And it's got further links to the other documents I mentioned. So check that out if needed. Planned topics for today include talking about the OpenWallet Foundation migration, some work done on dependency injection, and then the community meeting policies, which I think we've just gone over, which is that we're moving all of our kit to a new organization, and that's not quite all figured out yet. If anybody would like to take the opportunity to introduce themselves, please do so. Just say hello, introduce yourself, tell us what project you're working on, what brought you to Bifold, anything really. I'll pause for a minute in case you're caught on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Hello, morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Alberto here from Instant. I've joined these meetings before. It's been a while since I've actually joined. But Jason, is there any way we can add an additional topic
Yeah,
to today's meeting?
sure. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the challenges and strategies, and kind of want to ask the community about the best way to update um, uh, a custom bifold instance. I know that there's some BC people here that have a sub module, so I kind of want to talk about that.
Yep.
But thanks, Jason.
On the agenda. Thanks and welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, top to bottom on the agenda, migration of services to the OpenWallet Foundation, the wiki. I mean, like I said, I don't know if a replacement at the moment. I did ask Rye this morning in our Bifold channel. Otherwise, we'll just use HackMD. If he chimes in and says, of course, we've got one, then I'll move this document in there later today. Otherwise, we'll just roll with HackMD, and I will share the links as needed. Don't know if I can upload the video files here, but I'll figure that out. Zoom, hopefully they have a Zoom, so we can migrate to that. Join us at the same link next week, and then if there is a new Zoom, we'll start broadcasting it then. We haven't migrated packages to the NPM namespaces. Yep.
Right. They just a heads up. They use the sort of it's Zoom, but it's through a login through Linux Foundation.
Okay. Is that a
So
good
it's kind of a two-tier thing, but it works.
Good. Hopefully that's simple. NPM GitHub. We moved the main bifold. I guess it's not called Aries bifold anymore, is it? We moved the main repo to GitHub, and we brought along the mobile test harness with us because that was pretty much written by us to test the Bifold wallet I believe we tested in Sauce Labs. It's an automation test harness. So that came along with us. We've migrated the Bifold channel from Hyperledger to the OpenWallet Foundation Discord. If you haven't found us there, just go to the OpenWallet Foundation organization in GitHub. You can just search that in Google or Bing or whatever your search engine is and find it. And there's instructions there to join. We don't have a new logo. I have no ideas what to do with that one at the moment, but maybe we will eventually come across somebody with some graphic talent who can create us a new logo. And then the repo docs. So that was a code of conduct and other like contributing documentation. It just now took out the reference to the Hyperledger and puts in any reference to documentation links or otherwise that are part of the OpenWallet Foundation. I mean, we're still under the Linux Foundation, so, you know, most of the things are the same, but, you know, the flavor may vary slightly, but all the rules and regulations are still about the same. Okay, project updates. So these were some things we discussed last meeting, which was renaming app to source. We're going to do that shortly, but haven't pulled the trigger on that one just yet. Dropping the name legacy because it doesn't really apply anymore. So it's just one layer less of directory nesting. Moving, somebody suggested, maybe this was Mustafa, moving the app folder out because it's not really part of the package. Some minor project updates, and these are just really around like the graphics for Android and a few iOS settings just to make sure it still works and builds properly. You know, as we update from different versions of Android, there's different versions of Android Studio and Xcode. We need to make a few little tweaks along the way. Dependency injection is done. This was a Herculean effort. Clesio took the lead on this one. I believe Mustafa helped also on this one. And the idea behind it is to enable teams to better override functionality in the wallet because our configuration mechanics was getting a bit unruly. Every time we had to change one screen in the app for us in BC or somebody else, you had to introduce quite a bit of like boilerplate. So hopefully this just makes that pattern a little bit more manageable. And then project documentation. Somebody chimed in last week just hoping for some better project documentation, and we've put it on the agenda. No checkbox yet, but hopefully that comes along soon. So I'll pause there. Chime in anytime if anybody wants to talk about these. They're not like overly structured meetings. You can interrupt me anytime.
Yeah, Jason, we have to add the history module because we're currently working on it. So it's a big change to the wallet.
Want to describe that a little bit while I'm adding it, Mustafa, for people who don't?
Yeah, the history module will allow recording different events happening to the wallet, like receiving credential, starting from other things not related to VC, which is creating a PIN, changing a PIN, and including other VC related transactions like receiving credentials, creating connection, and all sorts of stuff. You can browse the history through a dedicated screen that will include filtering the history, clearing the history, and there's also a history settings that will be presented while onboarding to set the history recording threshold and other stuff.
I like it. Tell us a little bit about why you guys think that's needed, because you've put in a lot of effort. It's obviously an important feature to you guys.
Tim, I guess Tim will be better describing that, Tim, if you...
Why the history is important?
Yeah, just for people who might not know, like, why do we need to track all that stuff? Just a bit of a background on it.
Yeah, I guess, well, there's two pieces. One, it's only for personal consumption, so it's only for the holder. So for you to know what transactions you've completed with whom. So if you presented your identity to some organization and you want to know at a later date, who did I present what to, this is where your history is going to give that to you. It may also contain data on what you consented to and how you can revoke consent and things like that in the future. But it's really a transaction receipt, and it's up to the user. I mean, if the holder wants, user holder, if they want to not track history, that's fine. There's certainly good reasons sometimes to not want to have that history in your wallet, and how long you track the history for, and you can of course always delete the history. So it's not an audit for anyone but the holder, and their own purposes, what they need to know. So there's a lot of privacy considerations as well. Especially in cross-border scenarios, things like that, where you may not want, where you have to unlock your phone for some reason, the history is in there. But it's certainly useful for that, for a lot of use cases in the future, but definitely optional.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Tim and Mustafa. That was great. So yeah, expect that one coming down the pike shortly. Another exciting feature is OIDC for VCI. I forget why I put the I in there, Tim. I think you maybe mentioned I should put it in, or maybe that's a typo.
You want the I at this point anyway. I mean, the VCI's issuance, VP is a presentation, and OpenID for VC is just the overall, I guess, umbrella.
Yeah.
So right now VCI is what's being focused on, getting the credential into the wallet, that part of the VCI.
Perfect. And for that, we're waiting for AFJ5, which has the support for draft 11, which was recently published. So when AFJ5 comes out, I believe some of the folks on the call will be making the change to support that and then contributing it back to Bifold. So.
It's penciled in. I don't know if anyone knows what the timeline is for Credo 05 to release. I thought it was imminent, but it still hasn't come out yet. Haven't seen the key piece. Haven't seen upgrade notes yet. Exactly what needs to change between 4 and 5. The change log is there in a PR. So what the breaking changes, but not specifically all the details.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been following, and the meetings are pretty early. They're hard to get to for us here on the West Coast.
Yeah. Should be
but it's a good point. One of us should attend a meeting and report back periodically just to see what they're up to, because it is an important change, and they're making some breaking changes to it. It'd be interesting to see what they're up to these days.
Yeah. I was at the last, I might have missed one. I think it was the last meeting where they're waiting for a couple more PRs to come in. One of them to do with OpenID for VCI, but there were very specifics weren't there. That Timo was going to create some couple PRs, but he wasn't on the call to comment. I think that was the last call, or maybe the one before. I'm not sure.
Perfect. Okay, well, we'll rip in through this. Could take a moment to pause here. Is there anything in the agenda that we've chatted about so far? Anybody would like to chime in on? Questions, concerns, interesting anecdotes? Nobody's talking on mute, I hope. I do it at least once a day.
Curious on the, I guess, so we're going down the list, or I'm not. In terms of the rename app and source, is anyone looking at that, or is that have a timeline associated with it, or is it
well,
getting rid of legacy?
Yeah, we've been kind of like humming and hawing about that, but the problem with it is it's gonna like we've always tried to put it schedule it for when there's like no really large PRs or releases coming down the pike, because it does tend to, if you're not like awesome at merging, it can make it a bit of a nightmare for you when all the files you're working on get renamed and moved.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to be a little cool with it. But so we'll try to coordinate with some of the bigger initiatives, like Mustafa's work here. Dependency injection was another one, but that's done. So, and maybe the OIDC for VC work. So we'll just chat amongst ourselves and see when there's a good time to do it. But yeah, everybody should be prepared to, wake up one morning and see the change. And when it is like, okay, we're ready to do this, we've got a pull request, I think we'll make sure to announce that one in the Discord channel, because it will be impactful. But I think it's just overdue and confusing the way it is.
Yeah, legacy especially. I do think that does segue into maybe an item that's not on the agenda, which is the release planning, release cadence for Bifold. Major minor releases. I can like the way Credo does it. 0.4, 0.5, and then because that way people could stay on a 0.2 while 0.3 has a breaking change in it. But right now, I guess NPM publishing is just. I'm not sure what the cadence for all that is. It probably needs to be clarified.
Yeah, I'll bring that up as a topic for the next meeting because I think it'll be a good discussion topic to have because we keep releasing alpha releases. We don't officially have a 1.0, and we should probably take some time to discuss as a community what's that going to look like, and exactly. So I think it's a bit of a bigger issue than just sneaking it in. So that's okay with you, Tim. I will.
Totally
like
fine.
our main agenda item for next meeting. So I'll announce it in Discord too, in case anybody's got some thoughts, because it would be good to get a lot of feedback on it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, I think maybe even a little bit at higher level, a little bit of kind of a planning releases and see what features the community is interested or looking forward to. I think there's a few things that is the result of moving to OpenWallet Foundation, like renaming the published packages and things like that. I was thinking we would do a release right after that we finished that migration. That's what my initial thoughts are.
And just one comment. I don't even know if it's a 1.0 release. I mean, the cadence, it could be a 0.1 release or whatever release schedule we could.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you may be, but this needs to be major and minor releases along the way of some kind. But we can talk about that next meeting.
Yeah, interesting.
Because 1.0 is if Credo is only on 0.5, there's about 0.5. I'm not sure if Bifold can go to 1.0. Yeah.
I'm a little bit maybe more opinionated. I think that if there's something in production, for me, it's version 1. Since we are in production, and I know other people who are running wallets and maybe unlimited production and things like that. So it's stable enough that is useful and feature complete at certain level.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okie dokie. Bifold update.
Yeah, that's the one I brought up, Jason.
Sure, tell us.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, basically, so I'll kind of lay out maybe a specific use case. So before, when everything was sort of tied up into the SDK React Native package, and now, of course, from what I understand, we have, this more into modules, right? ASCAR, anon-creds, and the IndieBDR. So when we had the Indie SDK, we sort of cloned that at that period of time and sort of branded it, right? Added our logos and our themes, and then added some extra features for our use case. Then we sort of struggled a bit to actually get that updated to the newest, more modularized architecture. So right now we're kind of deciding to maybe get a fresh cloned project, right? And then kind of rework the branding, the theme, and start customizing it from zero. Ideally, and like I mentioned at the beginning, I see the BC Gov team uses like a submodule where it's connected to Bifold, and I think you guys are kind of connecting to a particular commits. So basically what I kind of want to ask the community is just the recommendations or tips maybe from the BC Gov or any other teams that kind of, the best way to keep, a custom bifold wallet up to par with the latest changes. Like, for example, just hearing here in this meeting, OpenID Connect, right? That new Credo feature being built in, and then I'm seeing, maybe some moving around of the app or renaming it, and then the legacy folder. So, is there any recommendations, or can anybody tell us a little bit about their process on how that's done? And then maybe I can ask a little bit more from a technical perspective. So, any recommendations on that part?
Yeah, I
You want me
can.
to-
Yeah, go ahead, Closio. I was pausing.
Um, so did you say you clone Bifold? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. We've
initially?
been working with Bifold the last, I would say,
Okay.
2 years. But we find that we struggle a lot to keep it updated with all the
Yeah.
good work you guys are doing here and keeping up with the features. So we're just kind of reaching out and seeing how other teams are doing it to keep up with the latest.
Okay. So you're right. That's what we had in BC Wallet. We had as a submodule. So we're moving towards more of a composite sort of app where we'll be publishing a number of different packages and modules. And again, that kind of comes along with the work that was done for dependency injection that uh, enable you as a vendor of an app or creating an app to hook into integration extension points that you can extend or override or things like that. That is all to say that we are not recommending the submodule option anymore. Like now that we are at the point where we have packages, they're being published. So what we are using now is just kind of a consuming NPM packages that are published from Bifold. I don't know, Jace, if you want to show that a little bit, our folder structure.
Yeah, I did
Um,
see a package. I think it's called IRS Bifold Core. Is that one of those? I think I did dig around.
yeah,
The
that one has been removed. We
Oh, okay.
don't have submodules anymore. So if you look into our folder structure, particularly our app folder, we just now have Bifold as a dependency, not as a local dependency anymore, just a generic npm dependency. If you look at the package JSON file for the app, that's the root level.
You wanted an app?
Yeah. So at the app level, that's what we have, the dependency where we have like unknown hyperledgers. That again, that's going to be renamed. But the areas bifold now we're using the updated, the one published from npm. And to your question about how do we update now, we just update the modules. That's I don't know if there's a PR that does that, Jason, that you can show as well.
Sorry,
You
what was
can
that?
just, is that a PR that we recently update the package version so we
Yeah.
can show? There you go. So for us, the updating process is really just running npm install or yarn check upgrades and upgrades all the packages that you want.
Okay. Now, with these new packages, would these be the equivalent to the local repo you guys had before with the submodule?
Yeah.
Correct. They start as equivalent. So the bifold core is what we initially had. Although a few things has changed since then. So for instance, the verifier used to be part of the core and now has its own standalone package,
Okay.
OCA as well. So
Got it.
there's a couple of modules that sort of graduated from the core module, and we're removing, try to make it trying to break it down into more manageable modules. That's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
So yeah, so the
Got it.
core is probably the equivalent to what you initially had, but you're gonna need a dependency of both. We're gonna be
Okay,
you're probably gonna need multiple dependencies. It depends what you're using.
and well, how often do you guys update these packages? I know there's a lot of activity going on in Bifold and then Credo and then kind of the new Open Wallet Foundation move. How often are you guys like releasing you know, this an updated version of your wallet? Is it like 2 weeks? Are we talking about a month? Or what do you
So
guys usually recommend?
when you say your wallet, are you talking about Bifold or BC Wallet?
BC Wallet. Yeah, BC
Okay.
Wallet.
So Bifold gets like a new packages get automatically built and published upon merging code to the main branch. So a alpha release or alpha package it's released very frequently, multiple times a day. For us, BC Wallets, we also keep it up in sync quite frequently. So at least once a day, I would say we tend to update, sometimes more than that. If you refer to a release, how often do we publish a new version to the app stores? That tend to change a little bit. So we're trying to do once a month, but we're already behind that one. So I think as soon as we do, we have our blockers, all the the features that we need. We do again automated testing and manual testing. Uh, as soon as we deem stable, we do a release that usually happen between 1 or 2 months, I'd say.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. All right then. So, is there with these packages, you know, with before with submodules, I would see that I would have to merge things manually. Is there anything to consider that I would have to do manually still, or would I be able to just work through these NPM packages?
You should again, I don't recommend doing if you mentioned that you're starting from scratch. I don't recommend starting as a fork of Bifold. One of the
Okay.
things that was in our backlog is something some sort of kind of a generator. We don't quite have that boilerplate generator yet, so maybe I'd recommend take a look how BC Wallet's doing.
Okay.
And kind of just I wouldn't even suggest that you clone BC Wallet, just say copy the initial folder structure. And that should give you a good starting point.
Yeah.
Or
Got
if
it.
you're working on that, it'll be interesting if as you're looking to stand up a new wallet, if you could provide with some sort of code generator, that would be really, really awesome.
All right. Yeah, we could definitely consider that. Do you mind
Um,
explaining a little bit more how that code generator, maybe, yeah, I didn't really get that
sh-
part yet.
sure. Um, Sorry, Jason, if you want to just switch to the main to the root of the repository, the folder structures. So there's a few things. So there's the kind of the root of the repository that we've decided to not. Again, there's some metadata. Sometimes there are things you might want to break down to multiple packages yourself as well. You could have custom modules or packages that started locally within your team, and then you decided to contribute that to the open source community. So we've we're going towards kind of a mono repo structure where there's the root of the repository, and then there's kind of a sub-module, sub-packages within. For us right now, we only have the app itself as a module. So that would be like that app folder. So something that would generate kind of there's a bunch of kind of the package JSON there, some metadata files about linting and
Mhm.
linting code linting and things like that. So that would be kind of a auto-generated. And then you dive into that app folder. That app folder, if you open that up, Jason, please. So that app folder is mainly what we're talking about. So when you talk about boilerplate is generated the iOS folder and the Android folder. those are two boilerplate codes that rarely change. So have them auto-generated with giving like your organization package name, or how you gonna bundle, what's your bundle name, short name, long name, and maybe a logo. We could either auto-generate that dynamically, or you could be a one-time and you commit your code, and there's some sort of tooling to consistently auto-generate and override that. So the other things, like we do have the SRC folder is where, if you don't want to, that's where we have our custom code in a way. So most of our custom or custom screens or assets or our translations, they're all under that SRC folder. So that is the custom. So at minimal, you generate that index.ts there. If you open that up, Jason, just for a quick peek. That is kind of a bringing Bifold together and creating kind of the app. If you scroll down, you create the kind of the composite app module that can be used. So again, that configuration can be sort of auto-generated, or at least the high level. And that's one of the challenges right now with how we have our configuration. The reason we're moving for a kind of a container dependency injection, because that configuration one is get unruly, and it's kind of it's annoying that you have to provide the whole structure. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing, Jason, that you want to open, if you go to the app folder, that should have a app TSX and the index.js. So this is the app TSX, is where we define all the kind of if you scroll down, there's all the different providers, some other customizations there. So most of this customization hopefully will move towards a container. Keep going. This is where you create all that structure of what is the structure of providers that are needed. FYI, there with the dependency injection, I'm also providing that app as a structure as well as a reusable component. So if you're just using Bifold, and we're going to eventually move towards that, hopefully, is that you can just create your own app instance, pass an instance of the container, and you should be able to get things going quite quickly as well. So the app TSX is something that you either use the one from Bifold and configure properly, or you can override it and provide your own. And that goes hand in hand with the index.js. That's the React Native entry point of how your app gets initialized and set it up. So if you just open that one file, Jason.
So you open which one?
Index.js. Yeah, so that's the main entry point for the app initialization. So bringing together, as I said, the app component, the app.tsx, some theme, and if you scroll a little bit down there as well, that's not as big. It's just a wrapper that we bring all the elements together. So, so you could just simply copy iOS and Android folder, copy that index.js. I would say instead of creating your app TSX, leverage the one that is provided from Bifold, unless you really need some configuration. But that would be my initial pointers, like the iOS folder, the Android folder, the index.js, connect that with the app element from Bifold, and you should have a wallet.
Yeah. Okay. No, this is actually very useful. And sort of just maybe not a little bit of a small segue. I was actually watching some of the videos, some of the talks, and I see you participate a lot in those videos, Clicio. The reason we're sort of updating it is I remember back maybe 2 years ago there was an issue when you first initialize the wallet and you trying to grab a credential. And it seemed to go into a stall state where it's just going through the spinner, right? And I remember talking to the community at that time, and it seemed like if you refresh the app, right, with like the R on the React Native, or just simply moving away from the screen and going back, you'll see the notification. I remember mentioning this issue at that time, and then we went into kind of like the other actors in the SSI ecosystem, like the mediator, right? The proper setup, and just going into the different parts. And I can't recall correctly what in what video or what talk I heard you mention that you were kind of going through the same thing, and then I think one of your updates kind of helped correct that particular problem. So I know I'm kind of nothing very specific there, but can you maybe talk maybe if you recall that conversation? I
Yeah.
definitely seeing something way better. We've improved a lot. I think we gave that Meteor instance some more power, and that helped. But still,
So
maybe randomly it still happens. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
there is a number of issues or improvements to be done. We did experience some performance, um, not gonna say issues, but it was not performing at the point that we wanted to. So you could experience like the app freezing, or just like waiting for a long time, or sometimes messages just simply wouldn't come in. There was a number of reasons. One of them is one of the changes that we made is kind of the indie VDR caching. So going when you have multiple ledgers, going to all those ledgers and finding one that is broken, or find a node that is no longer responsive, was causing issues.
Okay.
So we made some changes when it comes to how we initialize the ledger, and we establish a connection pool, and we're now caching that. So that is changes to any, again, indie VDR, and then it kind of bubbles up to AFJ and then comes to us, right? One thing that I would recommend, if you go, Jason, if you expand the .yarn folder, you're gonna notice that we have a few patches that we apply. Sometimes we contribute to the upstream package as much as pretty much all the time. I'm not even gonna say as much, is like all the time we contribute and make sure that we have a PR to those upstream packages. But sometimes those release candidates don't align with what we want to do. So what we do is we patch the packages, the
Okay.
transpile code. This way we can leverage those features. So there's a number of those improvements that are still sitting there. So for instance, when we upgrade to Credo, some of the changes for caching transactions,
Mhm.
it's not in the 0.4 stream yet. So but it'll be on the 5 stream. So we're going to be waiting for a release for that, or when we update Credo, we can remove some of those patches there. So take a look into those patches that we apply to packages. Some of them are related to performance, especially the IndieVDR one. And there's the IndieVDR, and there's the IndieVDR React Native. And I think there was one to unknown credits. So Ascar shared as well, has to do with that. So we have some packages locally in BC
Okay.
Wallet that we haven't contributed to Bifold, because I don't know, maybe we should. I don't have any opinion about it. It's just because we're waiting for PRs to get merged, and Bifold will get it eventually.
Got it. Now, did you guys see improvements in those connections with the ledger?
Yes. So we went for waiting for maybe like 20 seconds to maybe, sometimes it was very inconsistent. Sometimes it take minutes. So we went from that 20 seconds to maybe minutes, and sometimes you never get it. To now we're consistently seeing like within 5 and 10 seconds, we're getting a response, and much more stable. I think more recently, Jason, there was a package for we weren't retrieving all the messages from the mediator. But Jason, I think there was a patch, right?
What was that change? I only worked on it for a week. Now I've forgotten.
Yeah.
It was we updated to Credo 04 2, and then I made some changes to the config initialization to start message pickup manually rather than just hope it started during like the agent initialization. So I trigger it manually.
Yeah. And there's a few things like that as we learn more, we bring into the
Okay,
community and
yeah.
let them know. Yeah.
Okay, got it, got it. Now, just last question here. Would it matter in kind of like the SSI ecosystem that we have built between the verifier and issuer and mediator, the versions we have deployed? I mean, from what I can tell from the RFCs, it seems like this shouldn't really matter as long as it's following kind of like the areas framework. I know there may be some improvements here and there, but in theory, I mean, I guess ideally we should have that updated, but could that affect like latency with the mediator, or it's kind of maybe these drop packages? Like, is this something possible, or what do you guys think about that?
So let me see if I understood your question. What matter the version of
Yeah, so
Credo,
like for
FJ, and Bifold that you're using?
yeah, like the version of Bifold against the version of
Okay.
the mediator. Yeah, something like that. So like yeah.
There is no direct correlation there. I again, if you have your own mediator, there's a whole optimization that was also done on the mediator side. If you're using Akapai, initially we had the mediator using the SDK. We moved that to use ASCAR
Right, yeah.
and some other the storage mechanisms. We got more throughput from that one.
Okay.
There's also from Akapai mediator. We are using what is the queue that we're using? What is the persistence queue that we're using now, Jason? I forgot. Is it Redis?
Yes, we use Redis.
Yeah. So there
Mhm.
was some improvement that was done at the mediator level as well. Like for instance, another example is we add support for a push notification. So we have the mediator listening
Mhm.
for messages, and the wallet can register if they want to have notification whenever the mediator see a message supposedly route for that and for that user for that instance. So it depends
Okay.
what features you're looking for. I know
Right.
you're talking about performance specifically. Take a look into. I think we have a mediator service repo even in BCGov. Is that correct, Jason?
Sorry, what was the question, Clesio?
Do we have a mediator service? Is that in BCGov or is that in Hyperledger? I forgot. I think it's. I'm just
Oh,
checking
sorry,
here.
I'm muted. Hyperledger has the mediator repo. We might have our own, the way we configure it and deploy it, but that belongs in Hyperledger now. Just go to their org and search for mediator. You'll find the repo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Um,
seen that.
and there's also, if you're looking to how we create our things, there is a Aries mediator service within BCGov. If you want to know how we bring things
Yeah, it's the
together.
one with the OpenShift, right? I think I'm seeing
Yeah.
it here. Yeah. Okay. No, no,
Okay.
I think that's
So,
pretty much it, Clisio. No, this is very impressive. Thank you a lot. Thank you, Jason, for putting this
uh,
forward for me.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thanks, Alberto, and thanks, Clicio. So, very great explanation, thorough explanation. So, I work with Alberto at Instant. So, if I want to summarize and kind of validate my understanding, Clicio here. So, we need to take a fresh start here, taking the latest code base from wallet perspective and potentially from mediator perspective as well. So and our requirement is basically right now to provide a standalone wallet, probably with one configuration look and feel, and potentially in near future having couple of different configuration from look and feel perspective,
Mm.
branding perspective, right? So I see few areas, right? One is, as you mentioned, like, okay, take the repo Bifold and start with this. And then probably theming is one part. And then the other part is what I see is the new, which we don't have in our wallet, is the OCA, right? Which is
Mm.
more of the VC definition or branding look and feel.
Yeah.
Right, these two major piece we need to tackle. We have few other customization related to deep linking or code push, and this is something I think we need to think through, Alberto, talking to Clicio and other community members, how best we can layer over the new code base, right, the latest code base.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good summary. Again, keep us connected. Our goal is to make Bifold as easy as possible to be consumed, and I acknowledge that is not right now, but we're making small improvements as we move along. So if you encounter anything that is missing, let us know. I know, again, Mustafa is also working on a similar path, and we have other organization also in the same path. So yeah, let us know what doesn't work. Again, keep in mind that things are shifting a little bit, so it might be. I'm sorry for the confusion, but it is just like we're in the middle of moving to more packages and kind of make it easy. Because Bifold, it started as a kind of a product and an example thing, and we're morphing to this kind of framework. And we wanted to make sure that it's easy to be consumed.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I
And
might have to put a pin in that subject for now. I mean, I would just because there's a lot of people on the line and we're just coming to the end of today's meeting. So I want to give anybody else the opportunity to chime in with some thoughts, and also find us in Discord to keep that conversation going, Alberto, because we do want, like Clesio just said, make this project a success, so we can help there to,
No problem.
once this meeting's
Yeah.
over.
Sure, thanks.
Is there anybody else on the call who'd like to, has any questions or comments before we put a pin in it for today?
Will there be a recording of this, Jason? Is there a place?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
grab that. So grab the link I posted in the chat to this HackMD. If I can't upload a file to HackMD, I will at least put the links into wherever I've put it, so that you can just
Okay.
go to that HackMD file and get it.
It seems it's private from what I can tell. I think maybe you have to make it open. Yeah.
Everyone.
All right.
Okay, that should work
Thank
now.
you. Yep.
Okay, I guess nobody else has comments. So, Alberto, I think the process is, start using Bifold as a package. Start using the configuration, which will soon be replaced by the dependency injection pattern to customize it the way you guys want. And, use the BC wallet as a reference to see like how we're moving forward with that. And I think that's a good place to start. And then find us in Discord for those nagging like technical questions, because that's a lot it's like drinking from a fire hose. And Clesio said, we're gonna make it better, easier for people to do this.
All right. Count on it. Thank you.
Okay, team, that's it for this week. It's a wrap. We'll see you in 2 weeks and in Discord for more exciting conversation. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.